Yeah, they said they just started doing a program where they start recycling plastic, not much paper, but they just start doing
And
the
that's a
program.
new process for them. You got protecting the earth and the environment for them. They're so much more advanced than many places in the U.S., the West period, in terms of what we saw, the natural coral and the trees that were planted, and just how they do the whole environment. We noticed the water was beautifully clean. But and people say, well, this is just a small island, but they're very, very conscious of the environment, and that is a very good thing. Because I think the last time I checked, in the year 2000, somewhere in there, the number 1 or 2 city in the U.S. for toxic emissions. Anybody?
Chicago.
I would say Detroit.
Anybody else?
I would say Detroit too.
Anyone else? Try Memphis.
The most toxic in the U.S.
In terms of emissions.
Yeah.
Yes. And exactly. And you notice on your factories how many you see a cap. You know what I mean by cap? Or emission EPA guide. You don't see that kind of people where. What's different between this culture that's so similar and is an extension of ours and ours and theirs that's so
If
different?
you're selling fruit on the side of the street, doesn't necessarily mean you're poor. It just means that's one of the ways you're making a living. And no one has, a look that says, I'm rich or I'm poor. They just have a look that says, I'm here.
Our culture and mentality think that if we're out there actually doing it ourselves, we don't have it going on. Our status is lowered, our wealth or our worth is less. But if you think about it in economic terms, what's more realistic? Pay somebody else to do it for you, or do it yourself?
Keep your money.
And keep them.
And if you look at those vendors, now, when you drove down those roads, going in and out of town, in and out of St. John's or Long Beach or wherever, what do they look like to you?
They all look stress-free to me. It's like they're not like us. We got to worry about where our next meal is coming from or how we're going to make it. Everybody seems more laid back, and they know how their daily activities and what to expect out of each other and one another, and they're totally stress-free.
Okay. What was your first impression before you knew anything about Mr. Bailey?
The taxi
He was a driver for someone else, which made him a subordinate to ownership and proprietorship and having it like that in what we would call our traditional American middle class. Because he couldn't possibly be, because he's doing a daily labor. You didn't know if it was wage or contract. You just knew he was a taxi taking us here, there, and wherever. But what happened when you got to the Bailey's place?
Bailey's Martin.
The thing about it, we don't know whether he owns more of those things,
He owns half the islands and their family owns a lot of stuff, yeah.
So now if you've got ownership and you've got land, you see there's a difference between, he didn't say he had to drive that cab. He chose to drive that cab, which adds another dimension to his wealth.
I was saying, when I arrived on the island and looking at the little businesses from the outside, they all seemed to look the same. They weren't, like a large franchise where they have, everything just nice. But as I was saying, you can use that same analogy with people, stop looking at things from the outside and wait till you go inside and get to, to know things for yourself. Because once you get to know a person or you go inside, you see that it's different. It's like, as everybody say, don't judge a book by its cover.
I was saying earlier about that slower pace, laid back pace, whatever. We got a time frame. We'll get there. There's something that says for that. Because if you take a look back and look that way, and if we took all of those corporations that we know, as we know is in the West, in order for those to exist, what happens to all that out there? you gotta destroy it. You change the whole essence of the ecosystem. You change the whole essence of the economy and its system. You change the whole essence of the human system, of how people deal with one another. When you're driving or walking up and down the street, do you see people always rushing and busting besides the way they drive? There's a purpose in that. There's a meaning in that. And I can guarantee you right now, if I could take a blood pressure machine and take everybody's blood pressure, I guarantee you it's probably normal or lower than what we usually find than when we left. There were some young kids here, and you know our kids sometimes have the tendency to eat things, and what did they do with the trash? Did you see a lot of trash on the ground around?
No.
Did you see a lot of trash in the waters around?
No.
There is a totally different level of what's up here about the ecology of the island. If everybody did it that way, it would not be a tourist island. It would not be their home. And those little things you call a shack, whether it's somebody's store or their house or one of the big ones on the hill, it is still what? Their home. It's just like I tell folks, whether it's South Memphis, East Memphis, suburbia Memphis, it's still a person's what? Home. And that's the thing that we have to really learn to respect. And so when we get back home, I hope our eyes are open, because you know my philosophy is, once our eyes are open, you can never go back. And I'm through with that.